A spoiler on Brock Lesnar's WWE return speculation. NXT frustration behind the scenes with the main roster. Big John Cena plans. And more. I'm just Oli Davis, and this is the WrestleTalk News.
Support WrestleTalk!
Just days ahead of January's Royal Rumble premium live event, Janelle Grant filed a lawsuit against Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and WWE, accusing McMahon of sexual assault and trafficking. McMahon resigned from his position within TKO, the parent company of WWE, the night before the Rumble, but he wasn't the only major name affected. In the suit, Janelle Grant also alleged that in the summer of 2021, Vince offered her for sexual favors to a world-famous athlete and former UFC heavyweight champion with whom WWE was actively trying to sign to a new contract. The Wall Street Journal then reported that people close to the situation believe that person is Brock Lesnar. Behind the scenes, Lesnar was supposed to make his WWE return that weekend and start a feud with Dominic Mysterio of all people. He'd then wrestled Dominic at February's Elimination Chamber show in Australia, after which it was heavily speculated he'd enter a feud with Gunther to wrestle him for the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania 40. Following Grant's lawsuit, however, WWE reportedly pulled all of those plans. Bron Breakker was given all of Lesnar's spots in the Rumble match, Dominic didn't even have a match at the Chamber PLE, and Gunther's WrestleMania challenger will be decided by a gauntlet match on tonight's episode of Raw, between Ricochet, Chad Gable, Sami Zayn, Bronson Reed, Shinsuke Nakamura, and JD McDonough. But Brock wasn't just pulled from creative plans, he was replaced by LA Knight in WWE's opening Then, Now, Forever, Together Sting, and he was turned into an unplayable character in the just-released WWE 2K24 game. Dave Meltzer reported that the belief backstage in WWE was that Brock Lesnar is not going to be around for a while. Some people think ever. But after an apparent WWE update over the weekend, some believed ever actually meant about 6 weeks, which is relatively pretty long by wrestling stipulation standards. It was reported by numerous outlets online over the weekend, including the British tabloid The Daily Mail, that Lesnar's profile had been re-added on WWE.com's active roster page, which sparked speculation over his status within the company. The Times of India, the fourth largest newspaper in India, even wrote in their article, "The official WWE website now features Lesnar's name in the list of champions." Not ever a champion at the moment, suggesting that the company may have cleared him of any wrongdoing. Wrestler profiles on website rosters currently have about a 33 1/3% chance of being correct. Using the last month of AEW, Mike Santana and Kevin Kelly disappearing from their roster page foreshadowed reports that they were no longer with the company. But when Yuka Sakazaki vanished though, that was a technical glitch, and she was added back in hours later. Nevertheless, the numbers spell disaster for you at Sacrifice. That's AEW though, and no offense, for relatively low profile names. The decision for WWE.com to reinstate Brock Lesnar, one of their biggest ever mainstream stars and one currently wrapped up in its biggest ever scandal, is far less likely to be a mistake. So some online began speculating about the gauntlet match to decide Gunther's #1 contender for WrestleMania on tonight's episode of Raw. Perhaps Brock being added back onto the roster page could mean he's turning up as the last entrant to destroy everyone, win, and get back onto the original path of him versus Gunther for the IC title at Mania. Because that's what WWE often do with their big controversial surprises. Spoil them by updating their roster page first. Because in reality, Lesnar's profile on the WWE.com roster page was never re-added, because it was never removed in the first place. You can use the Wayback Machine Internet Archive tool to check. This is both unfortunately and, well, in some ways fortunately, a story about an easily disproved rumor being reported by top outlets as fact. Besides, WrestleMania XL is already set to be one of the biggest of all time, with The Rock making wrestling cool again. How many more buys would Lesnar being added actually get you? Especially when another legendary name could appear. Ricky Stenicki! I watched Ricky Stenicki at the weekend. It's a terrible film. It's the worst film I've seen this year, and I watched Blue Beetle. Cena is really good in it though. It's just a shame Zac Efron's giant chin doesn't seem to care about comedy films anymore. It is beneath his jawline. After Cena teased on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon that he was free on the 6th of April, which is also WrestleMania 40 Night 1, James Gunn has confirmed Peacemaker Season 2, which stars Cena in the lead role, won't film until the summer. Furthering speculation, Cena will appear in some role, potentially with The Rock, at WrestleMania XL. Cena was not seen at last night's Oscars, completely naked, presenting the award for Best Costume, while another WWE legend also appeared. And he wasn't the only WWE legend to appear at the Academy Awards, because we also had Bad Bunny. Yeah, good. He's a good wrestler. And The Rock was there. If Hollywood is the main roster to WWE developmental, then WWE should know about plans or pushes being ruined by wrestlers chasing their acting dreams. And one rung further down, NXT has the exact same problem with WWE. During Triple H's run as head of NXT, he was constantly stifled by Vince McMahon ruining creative or entire wrestlers by calling them up to the main roster and dressing them in a gimp suit. Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano were called up as a tag team while being locked in a years-long blood feud in NXT. The War Raiders were renamed The Viking Experience on their Raw debut. And Jason Jordan was made Kurt Angle's kayfabe son when you had a perfectly good Chad Gable right there! Thankfully, those more egregious examples appear to be left in a pre-Vince leaving past. There is still the occasional tension caused from trying to serve two masters that sometimes share talent. According to Fightful Select, NXT officials were frustrated over the booking of the Kabuki Warriors last week. Initially, they were happy to get the main roster women's tag team champions on their show to face their women's champion Lyra Valkyria, teaming with Tatum Paxley. But the night before the Roadblock special where that happened, Monday Night Raw announced Asuka and Kairi Sane would defend their tag titles against Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark the following week. Officials in NXT felt that undermined the Roadblock title defense, effectively giving away the result of the Kabuki Warriors retaining. NXT officials were very happy about one angle though, with Fightful Select reporting Dijak and Joe Gacy's Asylum match was really well received backstage, particularly Dijak for his moonsault off the top of the cage. And what's also been really well received is our Oli reacts to all his CM Punk moments video from the weekend, with Tom Jenner calling it genuinely might be the best video you've ever made. Matt asking for more of this, all caps, and Lasky declaring CM Punk and Oli Davis still a better love story than Twilight. Here's a teaser for what they're all talking about. I was heartbroken that Punk left.
Who is that?
One of the high points in my life. What was I thinking? Was it the copium? He does love wrestling. I don't know why Luke didn't tell me. Bit of tension there. Publicly offering CM Punk $1 million.
Just stop it. Just stop it immediately. Oh, just could you stop it? It's painful.
Thank you for everyone's incredibly nice comments on that video. It was really fun to go back and look at the last 7 years of running this channel, and I couldn't have done it without you all. I love you too, and I love those who share that video around and watch it the most. To quickly round up the other big WWE stories from the weekend, here is a WWE Newsblast. Seth Rollins made his in-ring return at Saturday's live event in Louisiana, teaming with Cody Rhodes to beat Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. This is the first match Rollins wrestled since suffering a torn MCL and partially torn meniscus on the 15th of January Raw match against Jinder Mahal. It's the perfect time to start warming up, as it was confirmed on SmackDown the previous night that Seth and Cody would face Roman and The Rock on night 1 of WrestleMania 40. Sheamus has deleted his Twitter account. He hasn't wrestled since Edge's last WWE match in August, and his contract is reportedly set to expire in the next several months. And one of Stardom's top stars, Julia, has just lost her New Japan Strong Women's Championship, which could signal she's on her way to WWE. Or AEW, I guess, meaning it's time for an AEW Newsblast. Mercedes Moné is all but confirmed to debut on Wednesday's Big Business special episode of Dynamite. So what better way to promote that debut than immediately undermining it? In an interview with the Kick Rocks Wrestling podcast, Moné said, "I know I'm going to be back there in WWE one day, okay? So it's not over. Like I said, I have a lot of unfinished business in wrestling in a lot of places. That clip has since been deleted. Perhaps Shelton Benjamin will also start talking about a WWE return because he's reportedly set to join AEW too. According to Fightful Select, AEW has been in conversations over the last month with Benjamin, who was released by WWE last September. Benjamin also has history with Ring of Honor, where he was part of the excellent World's Greatest Tag Team with Charlie Haas. AEW Revolution is set to come in at about 170 to 176,000 pay-per-view buys, making it one of the more successful in AEW history. And Pac made his return to AEW on Saturday's episode of Collision, saving Eddie Kingston and Penta against the elitist of elite, and having a mouth-watering exchange with Okada. They will all have a trios match on Big Business this Wednesday, and Will Ospreay vs Bryan Danielson has been confirmed for the next AEW pay-per-view. You say Dynasty, I say Dynasty. Let's put a dream match on the 21st of April. Now go watch me watching old CM Punk WrestleTalk news episodes by clicking the video on the left. And what's also been really well received is me. And what the...